Planet Dolan.
From a grown woman who beats up 4th graders to a teacher who has furniture smashing tantrums, the Planet Dolan crew reenact more of the best true stories from our subreddit about the worst teachers we've ever had. I'm Pringle the One, and today I'll be your narrator. Number 10 was submitted by DemolitionDork. Sidious had one of the worst computer teachers ever. Not only was she completely hopeless with computers, but she was also super paranoid. Within every lesson, she thought one of her students were about to assault her. One time, Sidious got up to move his chair and she called the school security on him. She did that hundreds of times throughout the year whenever anyone made a sudden movement. Sidious actually felt bad for the security guards because they'd have to come all the way down to her room every day, sometimes twice a day, just to calm her down. The security guards knew she was being ridiculous and would actually apologize to whichever student was getting in trouble. The worst part is that this paranoid teacher actually took someone to court over her paranoia and won. It's a wonder Sidious learned anything that year. Number 9 was submitted by Chubby Panda 132. When Doopy was in the 3rd grade, she had a mean substitute teacher named Miss Collie. One day Miss Collie ordered the whole class to go outside and practice their aerobics on the grass. Doopy, the good little student, took off her shoes and joined right in. Fortunately, it was springtime, so there were a lot of bees around. Doopy accidentally stood on one and felt a sharp pain in her foot. This was the first time Doopy had ever been stung, so it was pretty traumatic. She started crying and Miss Collie yelled at her to stop. She called Doopy stupid for taking off her shoes and sent her to detention for a whole week. Miss Collie later became their regular teacher for an entire month. Every day she gave Doopy a hard time saying, "What are you gonna cry? Is this work too hard? Just like that bee sting?" Doopy wished the bee would just sting her in the face. Number 8 was submitted by Hydrojojo. Pandora had one of the laziest teachers ever. He was so lazy that instead of teaching the class or grading their assignments, he would sit there on his cell phone talking secretively to some woman. Pandora wouldn't have minded this, except that he often lost or forgot about his students' assignments and made them start over from scratch. One day Pandora saw her teacher at a science fair with his wife. She was so pissed off about having to do all this extra work that she went up to his wife and asked if she was the woman he was on the phone with all the time during class. That was the first time Pandora saw a woman punch a guy in the dick. Number 7 was submitted by RukixReklats. Although Shima was a model student, her 3rd grade teacher Miss Bonnet seemed to have a big problem with her. She was always yelling at Shima for everything she did, whether it was sharpening her pencil, asking to use the bathroom, having male friends, or even reading books beyond her grade level. One time Shima was drawing quietly during a free period. Miss Bonnet's the bully didn't like this, so she picked up Shima's desk and dumped everything on it onto the floor. She then threw the desk down and demanded Shima clean it up and throw away her sketchbooks. She even ripped up one of Shima's Pokemon comic books and took off all of the front and back covers of Shima's notepads so she couldn't draw on them in class. This psycho was obviously jealous of Shima's drawing talents. She probably couldn't even draw a stick figure. Number 6 was submitted by Penguincamp. Melissa hated her high school science teacher, not because she was mean, but because she was a really, really bad teacher. She sucked at explaining things and was totally oblivious to everything that happened in her classroom. For example, one time a student faked a power outage by turning off the lights. The stupid teacher thought this was real and dismissed everyone for the day. Another time, the entire class got away with cheating on their final. The teacher somehow didn't notice that every student had put the same answers. Finally, one day all the students except one threw a bunch of paper planes at her while her back was turned. When she turned around, she blamed the one student who didn't do it and gave him a detention. The students ended up writing a letter to the principal to get rid of her. Number 5 was submitted by madquestions. When Dolan's brother Zarangamba was little, he had a really severe asthma. His teacher Miss Amner knew about this but constantly smoked in front of him. During one lesson, she got right up close to him and blew smoke in his face. She also made friends with some bullies who picked on him and took their side in every argument. Every day the bullies deliberately provoked him by making fun of his autism. Instead of disciplining them, Miss Amner punished him for being distracted by them. She kept him inside every lunchtime and made him eat in silence. I say we go over to the house and blow smoke in her face. Number 4 was submitted by Happy Zach. The worst teacher Tolop ever had was his year 10 technology teacher. She was incredibly sexist and would let her female students get away with anything. Every lesson the girls shouted and threw stuff across the room. But if Tolop or the other boys dared to comment on the teacher's presentations or ask if they could use a toilet, she would melt their faces off with their screaming. When the last day of school year came, Tolop thought the class would get to relax and watch movies, but nope! Even though all their lessons were done, Miss Manhater wouldn't let them waste 1 second of precious time. When she caught them screwing around on their computers, she screamed, "What do you think you're doing? Get on with your work!" When Tulip explained that they'd finished everything for the year, she made them spend their whole last hour of the year sitting in silence. Number 3 was submitted by Deductivemonkee. When Dolan was in the 4th grade, he and his buddies liked to turn their calculators upside down and write awesome words like seal boob. They joked about how this was hacking their calculators. Unfortunately, Dolan's cranky teacher, Miss Chupoy, who everyone called Miss Chutoy, didn't find this funny. When she found out what they were doing, she sent everyone who touched a calculator to the office. She thought they'd actually hack their calculators. I think someone hacked her brain. Number 2 was submitted by TheCreepyPhantom. When Ghost Toast was in the 4th grade, he had what could only be described as a substitute teacher from hell. At first, she acted like this sweet old lady, but after a week, her true nature came out. Every day, she taunted students, slammed tables, and yelled, "Are you all deaf?" One day, Ghost Toast's classmate had had enough, so he said, "Shut up, you old bitch!" The teacher ominously told him to come back to the classroom after he had eaten his lunch. When Ghost Toast and his friends returned to class after lunch, they found the once brave kid crying in a corner. He had bruises all over him and looked like he'd gotten into a fight. The principal soon walked in and announced that the substitute from hell wouldn't be teaching there anymore. Apparently, she had spanked this poor student with a ruler and forced him to write, "I'm a dumb butt," on all of his work. When he refused, she kicked him in the stomach and slapped him repeatedly. Ghost Toast is glad he managed to stay off this psycho's radar. Number 1 is submitted by me, your narrator, Pringle the One. The worst teacher I ever had was 5th grade Miss Robinson. She was a terrible teacher and a terrible person at giving advice. She always picked at me for any little thing I did, whether it was wrong or right. It came to my knowledge that she was just a very selfish, arrogant individual who actually treated others much better than she treated me. So one day, Miss Robinson went missing, and people asked, "Oh, where is Miss Robinson? Where is Miss Robinson?" And I knew from the very beginning that Miss Robinson wasn't ever gonna come back to class. Huge thanks for the folks over on our Planet Dolan subreddit for submitting their stories. We have another question for you. What was a time when you severely misjudged someone? Let us know on the Reddit page link below, and you might be featured in a future countdown. Take care, everybody. Much love and appreciation. Peace.
For any price other than what's on the sticker.
But Kylam stuck to his guns and repeated that they only go by the barcode and not the sticker because he wasn't gonna let that bitch walk out with a $200 item for $5. Finally,